You notice a large orange and black wasp dropping into a hole beside your garden bed, and every instinct tells you to reach for the spray, flood the tunnel, or cover the entrance with a shovel full of soil. It is big, it is fast, it appears armed, and because it is entering the ground, you may assume there is an aggressive colony waiting underneath your feet. Wait a second. Your garden has an air force. Insect, Great Golden Digger Wasp, Sphex Ichneumoneus. That female wasp may be carrying something you did not see at first, a paralyzed katydid, cricket, or grasshopper that was feeding on the plants around your home. She is not building an army to attack you. She is stocking a private underground nursery, one chamber at a time, with living food for her offspring. While you are watching a frightening insect disappear into the soil, your yard is watching a specialized predator remove a leaf-chewing herbivore. The important question is not simply whether a wasp nests in the ground. The important question is what kind of wasp you have. A solitary digger wasp can be one of the safest and most useful predators in your landscape. A ground-nesting yellowjacket colony is a completely different situation. By the end of this story, you will know how to separate the two, what the digger wasp is hunting, what its presence says about your garden, and exactly when you should leave it, relocate your activity, or deal with the root cause. At first glance, you may see only yellow, orange, black, and a stinger. Look more carefully, and the animal becomes much easier to read. Sphex Ichneumoneus belongs to the family Sphecidae, the thread-waisted wasps, named for the narrow petiole, meaning the slender body segment connecting the main abdomen to the thorax. An adult Great Golden Digger Wasp is usually about 15 to 27 millimeters long, or roughly 3/4 of an inch to just over 1 inch. Its head and thorax are covered with short golden hairs. Its legs and the front portion of its abdomen are reddish-orange, while the end of the abdomen is black. The wings are smoky and dark, often flashing amber or violet in direct sunlight. You can encounter this species across much of the continental United States, especially in sunny fields, open yards, flower gardens, path edges, and other places where the soil is loose enough to excavate. Adults are most visible during the warm part of summer, although the exact season shifts with latitude. In northern areas, activity often peaks from July into September. In warmer regions, you may see them earlier and for a longer period. You often find them feeding at flowers because the adult wasp drinks nectar for energy, even though the food supplied to its larvae is animal prey. This is not a hornet. It is not a bee carrying pollen in thick brushes of hair on its hind legs. Most importantly, it is not automatically a yellowjacket simply because it enters the soil. A solitary female makes and manages her own burrow. Several females may choose the same favorable patch of bare ground, so you can see 10, 50, or occasionally even more nests close together. But each female is running an individual nursery. A yellowjacket colony works through one defended entrance used by many workers. That distinction changes everything. One female repeatedly visiting one hole, or separate females visiting separate holes, points towards solitary wasps. A steady stream of many small black and yellow workers pouring through one entrance points towards social yellowjackets. You may feel uneasy when you watch the female circle low over the soil, vanish into a burrow, and emerge seconds later as though she is inspecting your movements. But her attention is not centered on you. She is performing a sequence of demanding tasks. First, she loosens soil with her mandibles, which are the paired jaws at the front of her head. Then she pushes or rakes the soil backward with her legs. The main shaft can descend almost vertically, with individual brood cells branching away from it. Before leaving to hunt, she may temporarily conceal or close the entrance, reducing the chance that parasites or other intruders will enter while she is gone. Then the hunt begins. You may see her moving rapidly through tall grass, vegetable foliage, native flowers or shrubs, searching for long-horned orthopterans. Orthopterans are insects in the order Orthoptera, the group that includes grasshoppers, crickets, and katydids. The Great Golden Digger Wasp is especially associated with katydids, although related prey can also be taken. Once she locates a suitable insect, she seizes it and delivers carefully placed stings that immobilize it. The prey is not chopped apart and eaten by the adult. It is transported back to the nest, sometimes in flight and sometimes with part of the load dragging across vegetation or soil. At the entrance, the wasp may set the prey down, enter the burrow, inspect the chamber, return to the surface, and then pull the immobilized insect inside. In each completed brood cell, she places one prey animal and lays one egg on it. She seals the chamber and continues working on another. After the egg hatches, the larva consumes the provisioned prey, grows, pupates, and remains protected underground until the next adult season. In much of the United States, this produces one generation per year. The adult female that you see working in summer dies by the end of the season, but her developing offspring continue the cycle beneath the soil. Now look at your plants, because this is where the wasp's value becomes visible. The wasp itself does not chew your leaves. The insects it hunts do. Katydids and grasshoppers remove plant tissue with powerful side-to-side mandibles. On broad leaves, you may see irregular openings with uneven but relatively clean edges. Damage often begins at the outer margin and advances inward, although holes can also appear through the center of the leaf. Tender seedlings may be clipped, and flower petals, bean foliage, basil, lettuce, ornamentals, and young vegetable leaves can all be sampled. Larger grasshoppers can remove substantial leaf area when their numbers are high. You can separate this chewing from slug damage by checking the plant at dawn. Slugs often leave glistening slime trails on the leaf, soil, container, or nearby mulch. Their holes may also be irregular, but the slime is the strongest clue, especially after a damp night. Katydids and grasshoppers leave no slime. Caterpillar damage can resemble orthopteran chewing, but caterpillars frequently leave frass, meaning small pellets of insect droppings, on leaves or beneath the plant. You may also find rolled leaves, silk, webbing, or a caterpillar resting along a vein. Aphids produce an entirely different pattern. They pierce plant tissue and drink sap instead of removing chunks, so the leaf usually curls, puckers, yellows, or becomes sticky with honeydew rather than developing large open holes. A digger wasp carrying a katydid past a leaf with fresh chewing damage gives you a direct link between predator and prey. Your first reaction may still be that one wasp cannot make a meaningful difference. But you are not looking at a single act of predation. You are looking at repeated hunting trips made over the female's nesting period. Every completed cell represents one plant-feeding insect removed from your yard before it can continue eating, mating, or laying its own eggs. In a nesting aggregation, multiple females may be hunting across the same landscape. Related solitary wasps expand that protective network. Ammophila wasps provision nests with hairless caterpillars and sawfly larvae. Cercaris species hunt weevils and leaf beetles. Sand wasps in the genus Bembix capture flies. Other ground-nesting hunters target true bugs, beetles, cockroaches, spiders, cicadas, and additional insects. Together, these wasps create a patchwork of biological control, meaning pest suppression performed by living predators rather than by a chemical treatment. For you as a homeowner, the payoff is specific. Katydids and grasshoppers can chew bean leaves, pepper foliage, young fruit tree leaves, herbs, flowers, and ornamental plants. Leaf beetles can skeletonize foliage by eating the soft tissue between veins. Weevils can notch leaf margins. Caterpillars can strip seedlings and damage tomatoes, brassicas, and ornamentals. A broad-spectrum insecticide may kill these pests, but it can also strike bees, predatory beetles, lacewings, parasitoid wasps, and the digger wasps doing free removal work around your plants. Pests can recolonize after the chemical residue declines, while the predators that normally suppress them may recover more slowly. Conserving natural enemies does not guarantee a pest-free garden, but it preserves multiple layers of control instead of replacing the entire system with repeated spraying. There is still a limit, and you need to recognize it. A few hunting wasps cannot rescue a bed that is being overwhelmed faster than predators can remove prey. Imagine that you inspect 10 pepper plants and find 1 or 2 grasshoppers in the entire bed, with less than about 10% of each plant's leaf area missing. In that situation, the plants are established, the growing tips are intact, and solitary wasps, birds, spiders, and other predators may help keep the pressure from increasing. Watch the plants for several days before reaching for a broad-spectrum pesticide. Now, change the numbers. You find several grasshoppers on nearly every plant. Seedlings are being clipped at the stem, or more than roughly 1/4 of the leaf area is disappearing from young vegetables. At that point, the wasps are still helping, but they are not removing prey quickly enough to prevent economic or practical damage. The exact treatment threshold differs among crops, plant ages, and pest species, so 25% is not a universal agricultural rule. It is a clear backyard warning point. When active feeding is accelerating, growing tips are being destroyed, or young plants cannot replace tissue as fast as it vanishes, you need additional action. Handpick large insects. Use row cover before pests arrive. Remove dense weedy shelter around vulnerable seedlings, or choose a pest-specific treatment that minimizes harm to beneficial insects. You may now be thinking about the stinger. That concern deserves a direct answer, not a vague promise that every wasp is harmless. Female Great Golden Digger Wasps can sting. They need a functional sting because it is part of their hunting system. Males cannot sting. The females, however, do not organize a group defense around the burrow. They do not have hundreds of sisters responding to an alarm signal. They usually avoid you and reserve their venom for subduing prey. A sting is most likely if you grab, squeeze, step directly on, or trap the female against your skin. When one flies rapidly past your face, the speed can look like aggression. Usually, it is navigation, hunting, escape, or nest orientation. A male may also patrol an area and approach moving objects, but he has no stinger. Fast flight is not proof of an attack. Repeated collisions, mass emergence from one entrance, pursuit after you move away, or multiple workers striking your legs are much more concerning signs and point toward a defensive social colony rather than a solitary digger. The safety exception is essential. Never assume that every underground nest is beneficial and gentle. If dozens of wasps are entering and leaving one hole, especially if they react strongly when you approach, stop walking through that area. Do not mow over it, strike it with a shovel, plug it, pour fuel into it, or test it by poking the entrance. Ground-nesting yellowjackets can defend a colony collectively and sting repeatedly. A nest near a doorway, play area, garden path, pet run, or mowing route may require professional management, particularly when someone in your household has a known sting allergy. The phrase, "leave ground wasps alone," is good guidance only after you identify a solitary nesting pattern or place a social nest in a location that nobody needs to enter. You may see the burrow as a new problem in your yard. Flip the evidence around and it becomes a diagnostic signal. If a Great Golden Digger Wasp repeatedly hunts through your garden, you probably have katydids, crickets, grasshoppers, or closely related prey living nearby. The wasp is not creating that prey population. It is revealing it. Check plants within the surrounding area for fresh chewing, especially along leaf margins and on tender growth. Inspect tall grass, weedy borders, dense ground cover, and the undersides of broad leaves. Listen after dark for katydid and cricket calls, because many species become more active when the light fades. The nesting site also tells you something about the ground. Solitary digger wasps favor exposed, sunny, well-drained soil that can be excavated without collapsing. A cluster of burrows beside a walkway may indicate compacted turf with thin vegetation and warm, bare patches. Their tunnels loosen small volumes of soil and provide channels through which water can enter, but the wasps are not a substitute for proper soil care. If they repeatedly choose one location, that patch is probably offering the exact combination they need: warmth, drainage, open surface, and access to prey and nectar flowers. The wasps are acting like biological surveyors, mapping the structure and food web of your yard. Your first option is to leave the nest alone. Choose this when each entrance is associated with one female. The nest is away from heavy foot traffic, and nobody needs to dig in that patch during the active season. Mark the area with 2 small flags, so children, visitors, and lawn crews do not step directly on the holes. Avoid mowing extremely low over the entrances. Watch from several feet away, and you may see the female arrive with prey, inspect her burrow, and pull the insect underground. Most solitary wasp activity lasts only a limited part of the summer, and the adults do not maintain a permanent colony through the year. Your second option is to relocate your activity rather than the wasp. You generally cannot move an active underground brood chamber without destroying it. Instead, shift a chair, hose, play route, or temporary garden task a few feet away. Use a light barrier or visible marker to direct traffic around the patch. If the wasp has entered your home, open an exterior door or window, turn off indoor lights, and allow the brighter outdoor opening to guide it out. Do not catch it in your bare hands. The goal is not to handle the animal, but to create an escape path. Your third option is to fix the root cause when nesting occurs in an unacceptable place. After the adult season has ended, increase plant cover over bare soil, repair thin turf, adjust irrigation where appropriate, or cover a sandbox when it is not being used. Solitary digger wasps often prefer exposed soil, so changing the surface can make the site less attractive the following year. Near a vegetable bed, preserve a different sunny strip of open ground, farther from foot traffic, so beneficial nesting habitat still exists somewhere in your yard. Avoid casually soaking the entire area with insecticide. A broad treatment can kill pollinators and predators while doing nothing to correct why the location was attractive. Use a concrete intervention threshold. Leave a solitary nest when one female is using one entrance and the hole is at least several feet from routine activity. Redirect people when multiple individual holes occur beside a path, but the wasps remain non-defensive. Take immediate protective action when many workers use a single opening. When wasps strike or pursue people near it. When the entrance is within a few feet of a doorway or play space, or when a person with a serious sting allergy cannot reliably avoid the area. In that situation, do not disturb the nest yourself. Keep people and pets away and contact a qualified pest management professional. The lesson is not that you should trust every striped insect below ground. The lesson is that identification comes before destruction. Your yard contains predators that look alarming because their bodies were built for hunting. The Great Golden Digger Wasp has powerful jaws, a functional sting, and the strength to transport prey nearly as large as itself. Yet those weapons are directed mainly at the katydids, crickets and grasshoppers feeding around your plants. Its burrow is not a military base, it is a nursery. Its rapid flight is not a declaration of war. It is the daily movement of an animal pollinating flowers, excavating soil, and carrying leaf-eaters out of your garden one body at a time. Have you ever run into a Great Golden Digger Wasp in your own home? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. If you want to know who else is living in your house, subscribe. In the next episode, you will meet the underground wasp that looks even more dangerous, but spends its summer hunting cicadas instead of people. See you in the next episode.